All right, so I want to make a video updating everyone. Canada's up to 99,902 confirmed cases. I actually believe they hit over 100,000. I believe these numbers are actually a day behind for Canada. But anyway, 8255 dead, 49 new cases yesterday, up to 489 active cases, back down to 34 in the hospital, down to 6 in the ICU. Um, Again, the usual stuff. The active cases tick up slightly. Um, Hospitalization and ICU numbers are pretty stable. So again, we know, and the numbers clearly bear this out. I've talked about it before, and I need to keep bringing it up because there's so many people out there, probably not people watching this, but you probably know people like this that think that, oh, this is this terrible second wave, and even though it's not even close to being anything we have to worry about, we would need to be seeing at least 100, I would say probably 150 to 200 new cases a day, um, given the amount of people that we're currently testing, for it to be anything we need to even come close to worrying about. Like, we need at least 100 people in the hospital before we need to start to worry. So anybody who's still worrying is, you're just paranoid. You're just looking for any reason to, fuel your delusions. And the reasons that we know this is Alberta is one of the only areas that's seeing this, and it's for the simple reason that Alberta continues to up their testing, and Alberta just reopened things for anybody who wants to get a test can get a test. And you can take other examples that prove what I'm saying pretty well definitively. You look at Ontario, they've had 6 straight days with below 200 new cases, and they haven't had that in the longest time. Like, I remember back when they were having 3, 4, 500 cases a day. They were having at certain points, and they're going into stage two, and yet we have people talking about, oh, why are we in stage two? We shouldn't even be, like, again, just the paranoia of these people, that the only thing that will satisfy their paranoia or get rid of it is to have literally no new cases, and that's not going to happen anytime soon. We can't keep things closed down forever. It's not realistic. It's not even realistic doing what we've been doing up to this point yet. um, we haven't really bared the negative ramifications of it yet, because the government just keeps firing out money that they don't have. And that's kind of the problem. And like I mentioned, Ontario, and again, you look at the states too, their numbers over the last couple days, 22, 23,000, very steady. Their numbers have not gone up significantly. Again, we know that reopening is perfectly fine. We are not going to have any issues whatsoever, because the country that had literally probably millions of people protesting over the last few weeks has not seen a big, if any, increase in cases. Again, just proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that there's no link. If anything, there's no more than a very small link, which I believe is the case. I believe that there is a small link, but it's statistically insignificant. Again, if we can have thousands of people, and in a lot of cases, tens of thousands of people, gather in small areas, multiple times. A lot of these cities, it's literally happening every day or next to every day, and still have a slight uptick in cases, then awesome. Like, that just proves that we have nothing to worry about. It just proves we have nothing to worry about whatsoever. So that's what I wanted to point out here. Again, I've pointed this out ad nauseum, but again, there's still so many people that don't understand this kind of stuff. That of all the things that could come out that definitively prove that the lockdowns do not work, it's tens of thousands of people gathering in small confined areas in hundreds of cities across North America, and there not being a drastic increase in cases. And that's exactly what we've seen. That is exactly what we've seen. So again, there's endless amounts of evidence that prove this kind of stuff, but again, most people not willing to change their mind on the subject, and I'm just hoping to get through to the small amount of people that are willing to change their mind. And I'm guessing most people watching this probably already understand that the lockdowns are a scam and they have been all along. But again, I'm just hoping to reach that one person. This is something I talked about yesterday because I wanted to bring it up because it's super, super important. So this is a study out of Switzerland, and this is a literal epidemiologist and immunologist quoting it. So There's no one that could be more credible than this guy here, Michael Mina. And he says new superveillance study in Switzerland amongst around 36,000 positive cases in people under 50 in Switzerland. 2 deaths were detected, none of them below 20. That's a 0.005 mortality rate in those under 50, 3 orders of magnitude lower than people over 65. So again, the death rate, at least in Switzerland, which my guess is that the world average is a little higher because Switzerland's a very high IQ population, high conscientiousness, all that kind of stuff, which is part of the reason why they're so rich. But even if it's half that, even if it's 0.01, that's still lower than the flu because from what I've heard, the flu is around zero point 0.1, at least from what I've heard, and that would still make it lower than the flu. So again, it's like I've been saying for over a month now. I've been saying it for over a month, and here's the definitive proof of it. Again, just another prediction that I've made that came true. And it's not that I have some crystal ball or I'm super smart. Like I just pay attention to the where the trends are heading, and the trends have been heading since probably early April that this is becoming less and less of an issue. So if we had evidence in late April or mid to late April that the death rate was around zero point 0.2, zero point 0.3, and evidence keep coming out that it was lower, well, chances are, yeah, before this is all said and done, it's going to be lower than the flu. And sure enough, here's the evidence of that. And like I said, this is just one study out of Switzerland. I mean, they did test 36,000 people, so that's a very good sample size. But it is still very telling. Nonetheless, it is still very telling. Like I say, my guess is that the world average would be higher than that, but still not by that much. Not by that much. So again, I just wanted to point that out because I've been saying all along, yep, before this is said and done, that the death rate's probably going to be lower than the flu, at least for people who are under the age of in that 50 to 60 range. And sure enough, here it is. So yeah. So this is something that happened a couple days ago that I was going to talk about yesterday, but I kind of forgot. And it's the whole Trudeau losing the UN Security Council seat, which is just a complete and utter waste of money, waste of time, waste of effort. Now again, he did waste, I think it was like $2 or $3 million trying to get it, and that's just the money we know about. Who knows how much under the table money there was involved. Um, yeah, so it's good news, but it'd be nice if they didn't waste so much money. And two, this is the other thing too, that Canada clearly is a lot more hated on the world scale than Canadians would like to think. The fact that Trudeau got less votes than Harper did in 2010, and I don't remember Harper making such a. I mean, he definitely made a bit of a push, but not as much of a strong push as Trudeau did. Like Trudeau, this is clearly getting this UN seat is clearly as important to Trudeau as most major Canadian issues are. So the fact that he lost it just goes to show that Canada clearly is hated at least to some degree on the world scale. So that's very, very good news in some ways, but it's also bad news in that we wasted a lot of time, effort, and money on it. But again, it's still better than getting the seat and having him worry about that for the next however long he'd have to worry about it. So good news there. This is from Luke Rudowski, and he says, so let me get this straight. There are elements in our government that would want to get rid of the police, yet in the same breath they want to disarm the law-abiding populations while the criminals already have guns. Do I have this right? Again, this is the left that they make such little sense it's not even funny. It's like they're literally like 4-year-olds or 5-year-olds trying to make arguments. It's like, yeah, you don't need a gun to protect yourself because the police will save you. But yet they think that the police are racist and they want to literally get rid of the police. Like, which one is it? The only way that you don't need a gun, the police will save you argument makes sense is if the police aren't racist, which they actually aren't. It's just a very small percentage of them are. But the reason why you do need a gun is that the police are not reliable, especially when you live in rural areas. Like, this is the one thing that leftists just don't understand, and that I hate using this word, but privileged in a sense is that when you live in a rural area, the cops may be 15, 20, 30 minutes away. You're not going to, if you're getting robbed or if someone's in your yard, someone's doing something illegal, you don't got time to say, hey buddy, can you wait to rob me? I got to call the cops and we're gonna have to wait 30 minutes for them to get here. It's not how it works. It's not like the city where they're 5-10 minutes away, which is still too much, which is maybe they're closer if you're lucky. But again, it's just the people in the city just don't understand. Again, they just don't understand, and it just goes to show just how little they know. And that the gun control argument is largely done. It's largely, I hate to say the word consensus and science is settled, stuff like that, which that's not a good way of putting it because science is never settled, but it's largely over in that the leftist argument was always, oh, you have the police. Even now they want to get rid of the police. So again, no one actually supports gun control now. Like no one supports it. The reason why the left supports it is that the left wants socialism and eventually communism, and the only way that you can get that is to have a disarmed population, because if you don't have a disarmed population, people can fight back against socialism and communism and all the horrors that come along with that. So that's why they want gun control. It has nothing to do with reducing crime or keeping people safe or any of that garbage. All the studies just prove that anyway. Um, so yeah, this just goes to show just how irrational and stupid these people are. And I really don't mean to be so mean to people, but we're at the point where they're advocating for policies that would really hurt society and everyone involved. Like if you want to have your political opinions that don't really affect me, or at least your fantasy political, you want to be a communist, but there's no realistic reason for communism to actually come to pass, which isn't really true, but just assume it is, then whatever. You can have your political opinion. I mean, you get your political opinions no matter what, but the idea of forcing them on other people, that's where you've crossed the line. Like that's where you've really crossed the line. So yeah, it's crazy stuff and it needs to be stopped. This is from CJ Pearson, and he has a very good tweet here, and it went very viral, 56,000 likes, 22,000 retweets, and he says people burning Atlanta to the ground while chanting "F Donald Trump" in a city with a Democratic mayor, Democratic city council, and Democratic police chief. Atlanta hasn't had a Republican mayor since 1879. Tell me again what Donald Trump has to do with this. Again, this is just sheerly a political movement. Black Lives Matter is sheerly a political movement. A lot of their money ends up in the hands of Democrats. It gets donated to Planned Parenthood. So let's stop pretending this isn't a political movement. And let's stop pretending, too, that Trump is a racist, too. Regardless of what you think of him politically, whether or not you would vote for him, black unemployment was at an all-time low under Donald Trump. If he was a racist, why in the world would he implement policies that led to black unemployment being at an all-time low? Or at the very least, he's such a bad racist that his policies have the opposite effect that he wants. If that's the case, who cares? Like, if someone implements policies that help blacks, whether or not they mean to or not, who cares? The point that we want is that they're getting help. So again, these people are just absolutely insane, and anybody who still has respect for these people, like again, I don't really have words for you. Now, do Black Lives Matter? Yeah. Do all lives matter? Yeah. I mean, should we be trying to help out the black community? Yeah. The problem is that they continuously shoot themselves in the foot and are lying and manipulating people. Like when a lot of your money that gets donated to them ends up in the hands of Democrats and ends up in the hands of Planned Parenthood, you've lost all credibility, because the same people in the same breath will be like, Black Lives Matter isn't a political movement, and yet they'll turn around and donate. Most of the people are just useful idiots that don't even understand this, but when money ends up in the hands of the Democrats and ends up in the hands of Planned Parenthood, yeah, you're a political movement by definition. By definition. So stop pretending that you're not. And the problem is that they don't want people to realize this, because the minute people realize this, anybody who's a centrist or a Republican would, by default, be forced to stop supporting them. So that's why they want to keep it under the radar. Anyway, and the last thing I wanted to talk about is from Terry I on Twitter. This is something that happened about a week ago, but I wanted to talk about nonetheless because it's so important in times like this. And he says, CTV is reporting that the First Nations man shot by police lunged towards them with knives. This is not racism. This is police doing what they're trained to do when their own lives are in jeopardy. CTV is driving racism to epic heights. This is not news. This is extreme misinformation. And again, one of the main reasons for all the racial divide nowadays is because of the mainstream media. It is not because of Republicans or not even Democrats or um, liberals or conservatives or NDP. I don't even believe that either any of those political parties, anyone involved in those political parties, is as responsible for the political and the racial divide nowadays as the mainstream media is, because they report flat out lies, flat out misinformation designed to have people at odds. And the reason they want to do that is that it's great for ratings. It's great for ratings. I mean, the mainstream media is slowly losing their sway. They're slowly losing money, and the way to get it back and the way is to have this horrible racism that's going on, which again gets people to watch the news. That's the main goal, is to drive ratings. They don't care about any of this kind of stuff. So that's the last thing I wanted to point out. If you liked the video, make sure to hit that like and subscribe. Check out my PayPal and email. I got linked in the description. Again, appreciate any donations. But at the very least, just hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. And last couple things, as always, check me out on Twitter and check me out on BitChute. All the links are in the description, so you can find them all there.